Welcome to another Pretty Smart. If you are new to my channel, my name is Marlena and I sit here every week and we do makeup together and we talk about a life-changing, mind-altering, inspirational book. And this week's book is called 13 Things That Mentally Strong People Don't Do. And I'm not gonna lie, when I first saw the book on Amazon, I was like, psh, mentally strong. I'm mentally strong. So I kind of got it because I was ticked off by the title and I was just nosy as hell and I wanted to know what this book was about. And it ended up being an amazing read. But anyways, this is our makeup look that we're doing today. Something colorful and fun. And I used the Makeup Geek Power Pigments in Invincible and what's this color? Unleashed. So let's get started. We're gonna pin the hair back because I'm having a crazy hair day. I'm just gonna kind of roll with it. So let's get it out of the way so you guys can see. So our book today is written by the author Amy Morin, and she is a therapist. She decided to write this book because basically she had lost her mom instantly overnight from a brain aneurysm. It was shocking for her, it was unexpected, and she was really struggling to cope with that loss. So fast forward to a few years later, on the day of her mother's death, her husband, now they were at, I believe, a basketball game and he was complaining of back pain. And next thing they know, he was collapsed on the ground. They have the paramedics come take him to the hospital and he ended up dying that night of a heart attack at 26 years old. So with all of the loss and things in her life, she decided to write this book, 13 Things Mentally Strong People Don't Do, because she had to learn how to be mentally strong to get through all of this crap that was going on in her life. And she said that the reason why she's focusing on the don't do's versus do-do's, she said it's just as important to focus on what we shouldn't be doing versus what we are. For example, if you're going to say, okay, I'm going to get on the treadmill every day for an hour and work out, but if afterwards you're going to hop off and eat a whole package of Oreos by yourself, it's going to sabotage the whole effort. So you have to be like, I'm not going to eat this entire bag of Oreos. One quote from here that I really like she was saying was, good habits are important, but it's often our bad habits that prevent us from reaching our full potential. You're only as good as your worst habits. So her reasoning was, she said, you know, a lot of people are just be like, oh, think positive and everything will be okay. No, she said it has to be more than just thinking positively, although that's part of it. There's some things that we need to do to focus on being mentally strong to help us get through all of the crap that we go through. So out of the 13 things, number 1 is mentally strong people don't waste time feeling sorry for themselves. So she says the problem with feeling sorry for yourself, she says it's a waste of time, as it requires a lot of mental energy to feel sorry for yourself versus taking that energy and focusing on something positive that you can do to change your situation. She said it prevents you from actually dealing with your emotions such as grief or anger. If you're feeling sorry for yourself, you can't get to the root of what emotion you're going through and deal with it and be able to move on. And then the last one she says is it interferes with relationships. If you're always thinking in the past, people around you may want to move forward and help you with that. But if they're constantly hearing you just talk about something that already happened, it's going to strain the relationship. She said the solution for feeling sorry for yourself are these things. You're going to do things that make it hard for you to feel sorry for yourself. Every anniversary of her deceased husband's birthday, she does a crazy activity. So one time she went skydiving and she said that it helped her a lot because she couldn't feel sorry for herself on that day because her whole being was focused on doing something crazy like skydiving. So she said, take time apart, do something that forces you not to think about it. And then she said to perform random acts of kindness, because if you're in a place where you're doing kind things for other people, you're not going to be able to wallow in your sorrows if you're doing nice things for others. It just takes a distraction away and puts things into perspective. The other one she said is do something active physically and mentally. Get your body moving, learn a new skill set. Like right now for me, I'm learning French. If you are focusing on keeping your mind and your body active, you aren't going to have the energy or effort to wallow in the past. And then the last solution she said is to replace negative thoughts with positive ones. She said this is where the gratitude comes in effect. Every book that we have talked about in our series, you all, they all talk about gratitude. It is so, so, so important. But if you are grateful and you take the time to think, okay, these are the things I do have, it puts things in perspective and like keeps you in a positive place. She said that in a 2003 study, it showed that people who were focused on being more grateful, they were not as sick as others who thought negatively. So it actually does affect your health. Number 2, it's always crazy when I sit here with the step that's not done. Number 2, mentally strong people don't give away their power. And what she means by that is they don't let other people affect their decisions or their moods or their emotions. So giving away your power is you are basically telling others that their opinion matters more than yourself. That is something I've definitely learned as I've gotten older, is when I was younger in my 20s and even part of my 30s, I spent so much time trying to please everyone else. I gave them my power over my life. I would try to do things to make them happy, and in return, it didn't really make myself happy. So I was just miserable, I was resentful, I was depressed, and it's just not healthy. So she said, don't give away that power because you have to have control over your own life. She said this statement, which I thought was good: retaining your power is about being confident in who you are and the choices you make, despite the people around you and the circumstances they are in. She said, here's the problems with you giving away your power. Number 1, it's going to make you depend on others to regulate your feelings. Number 2, she said, you let other people define your self-worth. She said, number 3, you also become highly sensitive to criticism because you are so focused on what others think. So if they give you valid criticism, or maybe it's not even valid, it really affects you emotionally. So that definitely was one I learned, especially now in the days of social media. You cannot let other people have power over you, especially if they're not close family and friends or people that don't even know you. Why are we even bother giving their power? Their opinion doesn't matter. What matters is who you are and what you feel about yourself. And then the other one she said is you lose sight of your goals. If you're so focused on everyone else, you lose sight of what do I need to do to be successful and to be happy. It's not going to always align. You can only make yourself happy, and everyone else is just going to have to be like, bye, Felicia. So she said the solution for giving away your power is, number 1, is to set healthy boundaries. This was something I had to learn, you all. It does not make you a bad person to set healthy boundaries. If you are saying no, it doesn't make you a bad person or disrespectful. It just means that you're setting boundaries for yourself to keep yourself healthy. And then she said, let others know what your needs on the relationship. So maybe it's a friend that's calling you at 2 or 3 in the morning and you're like, look, girl, I love you to pieces, but I need sleep in the middle of the night. And you can't just not tell them that because maybe they aren't realizing like, oh yeah, you're right, I shouldn't be calling you. So you have to really communicate that. That's going to improve your relationships. And then this one in particular applies to a lot of women. It's both. I always hate to be stereotypical, like, oh, women are like this and men are like that. That is not the case. I know that. I'm just saying in general, women tend to not stand up for themselves because we feel like that makes us come across like bitchy or too harsh or things like that. I think society has placed this pressure on women that we have to be kind and very soft-spoken and this and that, versus being assertive and saying, this is what I need for myself and this is how I will be treated. Because if you don't set the standard of this is how I need to be treated, no one else is going to treat you better than you treat yourself. So you have to set the bar, and then people will meet you at that point. And in the end, they'll respect you more and they'll treat you better. Number 3, mentally strong people don't shy away from change. She said that change happens more easily if we do one thing at a time and we do it slowly. I think the mistake a lot of us make is we try to change so many things all at once, and it's hard to adjust with that, and then we end up giving up after a short amount of time because it's just too much. So as he said, change one thing at a time and change it slowly. Sorry, I've got my notes. So she said the problem with not being willing to change is you'll get stuck in a rut and life will be mundane. Like, okay. You won't get to experience new things. Your life may not get any better. You won't be able to challenge yourself to become a better person. And then the last one was other people will outgrow you. They're moving on and you feel like you're stuck in the same place. So she said the solution to that is to create a successful plan for change. She said that you want to sit down and write what is the one thing you want to change this month and create steps of actual plans of what you can do to get there. So for example, for me right now, trying to lose weight, it's a story of my life. And so I can't say, oh, I'm going to drink water and cut out sugar and I'm going to get on the treadmill. I'm going to do this and that. I'm just focusing right now on I need to get on the treadmill 3 to 4 times a week. I'm not going to aim for 7. I'm going to do a slow change, and that's my goal. And then next month is, okay, I'm going to cut out sugar. So you want to do it in steps and have a plan of here's what my goal is and here's how I'm going to get there. Number 4, mentally strong people don't focus on what they can't control. This for me was the chapter that had my name written all over it, because I am such a control freak, you all. And one of those people, like, if I just work hard enough and I'm determined, I keep going, I can make this happen. And sometimes you just can't control things. You can't control all the circumstances in your life. You just have to roll with it. That's been a huge lesson that I've had to learn in the last few years, is that you just have to accept some things and let the rest go. Here's what she listed as the problems for trying to control things is it leads to increased anxiety. It wastes time and energy because you're focusing on things that are just out of your control versus spending that effort on what you can control. And then you'll blame yourself for everything when it's truly not, that things just, that's how life happens. It's not there sometimes and you can't control it. So she said the solution to this is to identify your fears. She said that fears are the number one thing that always gets in the way of changing our habits or having a better life because we're afraid of something. So she said one thing that's helpful is to take what your fear is, sit and think about it, write it on a piece of paper or on a plate, start up a fire, and she said throw it into the fire. It's a symbolic act of trying to get you to realize that at the end of the day, it's a fear. And if you throw that in there, it kind of gets your mind to think that, okay, this is just my personal fear. It may not happen. I'm going to let that go. Number 2, she said to focus on what you can control. Relax and just focus on what you can control. Let the rest go. Bye-bye. Number 5, mentally strong people don't worry about trying to please everyone. This is one I had to learn as well. I told you guys, I was like, when I read through this book, yeah, I have this chapter too. So she said, here's the problems with being what she calls a people pleaser. Number 1, it keeps you from reaching your goals because it goes back to if you're trying to make everyone else happy, then how can you focus on what you need for yourself? She said you can be easily manipulated. This one is true. She said that manipulators specifically look for people who are people pleasers because they're going to use that as an opportunity to get out of you what you can. I can testify to that, especially you guys know that I've talked a bit about coming out of an abusive relationship. And that was the one thing that I can say is that I was trying to be a people pleaser and thinking, oh, if I just do this, then the relationship will work out. And that is not the case at all. It's easy to become easily manipulated because you're trying so hard to make the other person happy and they're going to take advantage of that. Sorry guys, I got to try to do my brows. It's hard to do my brows and talk at the same time. So I'm going to finish them, come right back. And then another solution she said is to rank your values in order and use that as a guide to decisions for yourself. Like, what is your top 5 values? Is it time with family? Is it money? Is it travel? Is it doing some good charity work? Make a list of your 5 values in order. If you are not following those things, then you're off track and you're doing what other people want. So it's just a good guide for you. And then the other one she said is practice behaving assertively. This was a hard one for me that I've had to learn over years. Again, this is in general. Women, I feel, have a harder time acting assertively because there's this whole societal, standard that women can't be assertive. That's a man thing. It's BS completely. But if you are assertive, then you are bitchy or, you're a bad person. That is not the case at all. You can be assertive and it not be disrespectful. And confrontation does not have to be bad or scary. It's just a matter of just being factual, leaving the emotion out of it and say, these are the things that I need. This is how I will be treated. This is not what I'm going to expect. It is okay to set standards. Everyone's going to rise to that and meet you there. Number 6, mentally strong people don't fear taking calculated risks. She said the reason that a lot of us don't take risks is that we are accustomed to familiarity. So we are comfortable with where we're at and it's scary to do something new. She said we tell ourselves, oh, if it feels too scary, then it must be too risky and I can't do it. Of course, it's going to be scary. It's something new and challenging, but without taking a very logical, calculated risk, how you know it's not going to be extraordinary if you don't try. So the solution to taking calculated risks is to ask yourself these questions. What are the potential costs? What are the potential benefits to this? How will it help me achieve my goal? What are the best and worst case scenarios? And then how will this matter to myself in 5 years? She said if you ask all of these questions, it's going to guide you you on what you should do if you're just very logical and think out the whole process. Success will not find you. You have to go out and search for it. Number 7, mentally strong people don't dwell on the past. The problem with staying stuck in the past is we can't move forward to something better if we're always looking back instead of forward. Number 2, dwelling on the past distracts us from the present. How can we enjoy the good things that are going on in our life right now in the present if we're always looking at the past? Also, it interferes with your decision-making skills. If you are afraid to make decisions because of things that happened in the past, you may not make the best decisions for yourself because that past is affecting your future. So the solution is to give yourself specific time to dwell on the past and then move on. She said to set aside 20 minutes at one time. Whenever those feelings of the past pop up, just take a minute, process through your emotions, but then after that 20 minutes, you have got to move on. Another solution is to plan for the future. If you are busy putting your time and effort into the future, you can't wallow in the past. So setting goals for what you want to do next is always helpful to moving on. And then she said to focus on what you learned from the past. Anytime there's something bad that happens or you had a failure or something, there's a lesson to be learned from that. So if you look at the past, like, yes, this bad thing happened, but what did I learn from that? It puts it in perspective and it helps you handle the emotions a little bit better. Number 8, mentally strong people don't keep making the same mistakes over and over. This quote I loved. It says, "The only real mistake is the one from which we learn nothing." So she gives an example of Roland Macy. Back in the 1800s, he had opened this dry goods store. I think it was in Connecticut, and it was opened up in this part of town where no one was even going. But his thought was, I'm going to have this parade that goes down the main street and it ends up right in front of my store, and then I'm going to have someone outside speaking and putting on a presentation so everyone will crowd to the front of my store and they'll come inside and buy things. What ended up happening is it was too hot that day and no one ended up coming to this parade, and Roland Macy ended up losing a bunch of money and ended up going bankrupt. So fast forward to several years later, he moved to New York and opened a store downtown there and took everything that he learned from his mistakes in the past and applied it to this, and ended up, now we have the massive multi-billion-dollar corporation of Macy's, and that's how we have the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. But the whole moral of that story was that Roland Macy learned his mistakes from the past, took those and applied it to something new and did amazing with his next business adventure. So the solution, she says, to learning from your mistakes is to ask yourself these questions. What did I do wrong? What can I do differently next time? What could I have done better? Just sit down and write down, okay, this is the mistakes I made. I'm going to do it differently next time. That's what I hear a lot of the time about successful people, is that you think that they're successful from the get-go, but when you read their biographies, they had bankruptcies and failed businesses and all sorts of things that they went through before they finally found what works. But the key to that is honestly taking those mistakes and learning from them and doing things differently. And then she said to get used to feeling discomfort, because if you are trying new things, it's going to feel uncomfortable because it's unfamiliar to you. And then she said to view mistakes as not something negative, but as positive. Mistakes happen for a reason, so try not to dwell on it as being a failure, but something as a learning opportunity. I know this is looking really bright and crazy, you all, but I promise wait till the end, we'll pull it together. Number 9, mentally strong people don't resent other people's success. This quote by Nelson Mandela was amazing. He said, "Resentment is like drinking poison and hoping it will kill your enemies." So here she said the problem is with resentment is that you'll lose focus of your own path to success, because again, you're looking at what other people are doing. You'll never be content with what you have. You'll overlook your own skills and talents because again, you're trying to do what other people have done to be successful, but your talents and abilities may be in a different area, and you should focus on that because that's what's going to make you successful. So she said the solution is to create your own definition of success. When people say that they have everything in life and they still aren't happy, then what the problem is they're living to what other people's success looks like and not their own. So you really have to evaluate what does success look like for you. Number 10, mentally strong people don't give up after their first failure. She said, here's the reasons why we give up. Number 1, fear. fear. Number 2, we think failure defines us, so we don't even bother trying. Number 3, we aren't confident in our talents and abilities. And then number 4, she said giving up becomes a habit. If you've given up in the past before, it's what you're familiar with and what you know. So then in the future, you just keep giving up easily because it's become a habit. She said that it's difficult to succeed without failing at least once. And she gave the story of Dr. Seuss. She said that Dr. Seuss was rejected 20 times with his first book before someone finally decided to publish him. She said the problem with giving up is that you're less likely to learn from your mistakes and try again. And then she said that you deprive yourself too of building character because you, throughout the process of failing and moving on, you learn what your strengths and your weaknesses are, and you also learn how strong you actually are. And so she said the solution is to tell yourself that failure is part of the journey. And then you have to tell yourself that I can learn from these failures. It's all about the perspective. This is not a failure, it's a learning lesson. Number 11, mentally strong people don't fear alone time. She said just as it's important to spend quality time with loved ones, you have to spend quality time with yourself, getting to know yourself and working on yourself. You can't do that unless you have some time alone to really reflect on your life. She said the reasons why we avoid being alone, the first one is society has this illusion that being alone is a horrible thing. Things such as solitary confinement, time out, or if you spend too much time alone, you're labeled as a hermit. Society makes it seem like being alone is this bad thing when it's really not. She also said that having an overbooked calendar makes us feel important. Staying busy is also a distraction. It keeps us from having to face our true feelings or things that are going on with life. If we just keep going, we don't have to face them. She said that the solution to alone time is to take time each day to journal, which we talked about in the past. A couple videos ago, I told you about the 6-minute diary. It's amazing. Go watch it if you haven't yet. She also said that we have to spend time meditating, that it's so healthy for our mental and physical health. She said that studies have actually shown that regions of the brain associated with learning, memory, and emotion regulation actually begin to thicken after just a few months of meditation. It's that powerful. She said that meditation also decreases anxiety and depression. So she gave the story of this guy. His name was Wim Hof, I guess. He's this Dutch man who's huge into meditation. He has submitted himself in ice for over an hour. He's climbed Mount Everest, I think half of Mount Kilimanjaro. He's done all these amazing feats, and doctors look at him like, how are you still alive, especially with being submerged in ice? They call him, his nickname is the Iceman. And he said that through meditation, he is actually physically able to get his body to regulate its temperature. That is insane. And then she said to practice mindfulness. Now, this is different from meditation. Meditation is taking time to sit in the quiet, to breathe, to pray. But mindfulness is being present in the moment in the task that you're doing. Instead of multitasking and letting your brain just float away, you're actually thinking about what you're doing. So she said there's many health benefits from being mindful as well. It helps you decrease your anxiety. It increases your immune function. There's so many benefits to meditation and mindfulness. Number 12, mentally strong people don't feel that the world owes them anything. This quote was pretty amazing too. It says, the world owes you nothing. It was here first. She says the problem with entitlement is that when you're focused on yourself, it's hard to be empathetic with others because it's always about me versus what can I do for others or what can I give to others. We need to focus on that to keep us in check and make sure that we don't ever get too entitled. The solution for entitlement is to realize that life is not fair and realize that our problems aren't unique. Because I think when we go through rough times, we're like, oh, no one understands. They haven't been through what I've been through. But everyone is going through their own struggle. It may be different from what you're going through, but we all have had crap going on in our lives. And then she said to tell yourself that you are not deserving more than anyone else. You are not better than anyone else to feel that you deserve it. We are all humans. We're all in it together and we're all the same. Number 13, mentally strong people won't expect immediate results. We live in an instant world where we're very accustomed to getting things right away. And so we think that applies to all areas of our life, that I need it right now. And if it doesn't happen now, then it's a failure. When sometimes things just take some time and some patience to accomplish. She said the problem with expecting immediate results is that we give up too soon before we have time to actually realize if our plan is going to work. She said that we're also tempted to take shortcuts and not do things the right way because we just are focused on, we need to get this done right now versus I need to do this well. And then we also won't be prepared for the future because we're looking at short-term goals versus the long-term goals and the big picture. pictures. And then the last problem she said is we set unrealistic expectations for ourselves and we get really disappointed when they don't happen because it's unrealistic to have A, B, and C happen in a month's time when it may take up to a year. The solution is to accept the fact that change is hard and it's going to take time to reach your goals. She also said to avoid giving yourself rigid timelines, make sure that they're realistic. Like, I am not going to lose 80 pounds in 2 months. It's just not realistic. But can I make that a goal over a year? That's more doable. She told the story of James Dyson, who came out with his first vacuum in 1993, but it took him 14 years before that to even get to that point. He had 5,000 different prototypes before he finally came up with one that worked. So he definitely did not give up along the way and did not expect immediate results. Sometimes it takes a long time to get to where you need to go. So it definitely shows you never know what can happen if you keep going and not give up. Okay, let's take this out before I get a crimp in my hair, which I think I already did, but whatever. I really liked this book a lot, even though it wasn't this profound, deep, intense book. Some of these things we already know, but it was nice to have some good examples in there and just put it all together. So I do recommend the book and I liked it a lot. I cannot talk while I line my lips either. Okay, so final touch is this lipstick. Gotta put that in. What do you guys think of that makeup look? I know it's a little bit dramatic, but it's still fun. I did not use any shimmers in this look, which is very rare for me because I love my full eyeshadows, but I hope you guys enjoy this Pretty Smart. I love doing this series so much. The book that I'm reading right now is Girl, Stop Apologizing. That's for next week. I think you guys will like that one a lot too, but let me know in the comments below what books you're reading right now that are changing your life because I would love to hear your suggestions and read those and talk about them here too. So thanks you guys for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and I will see you next week for another Pretty Smart.